It's Sunday, July the 5th, 2026. You're listening to the DX Today AI Daily Brief. Today, OpenAI floats handing Washington a stake in the company. Together, AI lands one of the summer's biggest funding rounds. And the United Nations opens its first global dialogue on AI governance. Let's get into it.
We begin with OpenAI, which is testing one of the most unusual ownership ideas the industry has seen. According to the Financial Times, the company floated, giving the United States government roughly a 5% equity stake, a slice worth about $42.6 billion. Chief Executive Sam Altman is framing it as a public wealth fund, modeled on Alaska's permanent fund, which pays residents a dividend from oil revenue. The pitch imagines other frontier labs, Anthropic among them, contributing similar stakes into a shared government vehicle. Supporters see a way to align AI's windfall with the public. Skeptics see a bid to buy political goodwill ahead of a planned public offering. Either way, it moves the debate over who owns AI squarely into Washington.
From equity to enormous checks.
Together AI, the cloud provider built around open-source models, closed an $800 million Series C that vaulted its valuation to $8.3 billion. The round was led by Aramco Ventures, with participation from NVIDIA, General Catalyst, and Vista Equity Partners. Founded in 2022, Together now says it generates more than $1 billion in annual bookings, and that usage of open models on its platform has tripled in the past year. The company plans to pour the money into inference capacity, projecting its infrastructure footprint could grow roughly 50-fold over 5 years. It's a striking vote of confidence that open-weight models, not just closed frontier systems, can anchor a serious business.
Microsoft builds a new arm.
Microsoft is standing up a dedicated business to get AI actually deployed inside big companies. Called Microsoft Frontier Company, it launches with a $2.5 billion commitment and thousands of engineers whose job is to embed with customers and turn pilots into production. The first named partners are a marquee list: the London Stock Exchange Group, Unilever, the food cooperative Land O'Lakes, and consulting giant Accenture. The move is a tacit admission that the hard part of AI is no longer building capable models. It's the messy work of wiring them into real workflows. Microsoft is betting that whoever solves deployment, not just training, captures the enterprise. It also puts Microsoft in more direct competition with the consultancies it partners with.
Amazon makes a similar bet.
Amazon's cloud unit, AWS, is putting $1 billion behind a new group it calls Forward Deployed Engineering. The idea mirrors Microsoft's send thousands of engineers directly into customer sites to co-build AI systems and compress timelines from months down to days. It's part of a broader land grab in enterprise AI, where the cloud giants have realized that selling raw compute isn't enough. Customers want hands-on help shipping real products. AWS is also layering in agentic tools, including new assistants for supply chain, hiring, and healthcare workflows. The through line across Microsoft and Amazon this week is unmistakable. The frontier of competition is shifting from the lab to the last mile of getting AI to work.
NVIDIA rethinks how chips are sold.
NVIDIA is changing the economics of AI infrastructure. The company introduced a new model that lets smaller AI cloud providers access its coveted GPUs through revenue sharing and credit support, rather than paying the full cost up front. The goal is to get more NVIDIA-powered capacity into the hands of startups that can't easily finance massive hardware purchases. It's a notable shift for a company that has spent years simply selling every chip it can make. By spreading the risk, NVIDIA keeps itself at the center of the build-out even as the price of entry soars. Critics warn it could deepen the industry's dependence on a single vendor. But for cash-strapped AI clouds, cheaper access to NVIDIA silicon may be too good to pass up.
Meta opens its data centers.
Meta is preparing to rent out its own AI computing power to outside customers, a move that would turn one of the world's largest private compute stockpiles into a revenue source. For years, Meta hoarded GPUs to train its own models and power its apps. Now, with capacity ramping faster than its internal needs, the company is exploring selling access much like a traditional cloud provider. It's a meaningful pivot for a firm that has poured tens of billions into data centers and custom silicon. If it follows through, Meta would be muscling into territory dominated by Amazon, Microsoft, and Google, and signaling that the compute arms race has produced a surplus worth monetizing.
Anthropic ships a new default.
Anthropic rolled out Claude Sonnet 5 and made it the default model for every free and paid user worldwide. The company describes it as the most agentic sonnet it has built, capable of holding its own against the flagship Opus on many tasks while running faster and cheaper. Through an introductory window, Anthropic says, Sonnet 5 actually costs less than the model it replaces, an unusual case of a frontier upgrade lowering the price. The emphasis on agentic performance is telling. Anthropic is leaning hard into AI that can take multi-step actions, not just answer questions. For the millions who use Claude every day, the upgrade arrived quietly, simply becoming the new baseline they interact with.
Google expands image generation.
Google released 2 new image generation models under its Gemini line. The first, Gemini 3.1 Flash Image, is tuned for speed and low cost. The second, Gemini 3 Pro Image, targets higher quality output for professional work. Both are available immediately through Google AI Studio and the Gemini API, with pricing that undercuts much of the market on the Flash tier. The release deepens Google's push to make image creation a native, programmable feature, rather than a standalone novelty. It also intensifies a crowded fight over visual AI, where quality, speed, and cost are all improving at once. For developers, the upshot is more capable image tools landing directly inside the platforms they already build on.
Europe's challenger shows momentum.
France's Mistral AI is signaling it intends to keep pace with the American giants. The company teased an upcoming open-weight model due for early access this summer and disclosed that its annual recurring revenue has climbed above $400 million, up from just $20 million a year earlier. That's a 20-fold jump in 12 months, and the company says it's on track to pass $1 billion in revenue. Mistral has built its reputation on releasing capable models with permissive licenses, a deliberate contrast to the closed systems from OpenAI and Anthropic. Its growth suggests real appetite among enterprises and governments for a European option, one that offers more control, transparency, and independence from Silicon Valley's biggest labs.
A sobering read on jobs.
The latest United States jobs report landed with a thud. Employers added just 57,000 jobs in June, far below the roughly 185,000 economists expected, and the weakest monthly gain since the slowdown of 2024. Economists are careful not to pin it on any single cause, but many cited AI as one structural factor, as companies slow hiring in roles where automation is starting to bite, particularly in entry-level and back-office work. It's still early, and the data is noisy. But the report adds fuel to a growing debate over whether AI is beginning to reshape the labor market in visible ways, and how policymakers should respond if the trend deepens.
States move on the workforce.
Connecticut is joining a new national effort to prepare workers for an AI economy. Governor Ned Lamont announced the state will partner with a nonprofit called Raise US, joining Arkansas, Maryland, and Utah as founding members. The group is co-founded by former Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo and former Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb, and it aims to coordinate employers, educators, and policymakers around retraining. The move builds on legislation Connecticut passed last month funding technical skills programs tied to artificial intelligence. It reflects a broader recognition among states that the federal government won't be the only actor here, and that workforce readiness may prove just as consequential as any single model release in determining who benefits from AI.
And finally, governance goes global.
The United Nations is convening its first global dialogue on AI governance, opening in Geneva on July 6th and 7th. Member states will gather to discuss shared approaches to managing a technology that has outrun most national rulebooks. The meeting will feature the first global scientific assessment of AI, an attempt to give governments a common, evidence-based picture of the risks and opportunities. Expectations are measured. No binding treaty is on the table, and deep divisions remain between nations racing to lead and those worried about being left behind. But the very act of convening signals that AI governance is becoming a matter of international diplomacy, not just national policy or corporate self-regulation.
That's your briefing for Sunday, July 5th, 2026. For DX Today, stay curious.